Imagine going on a first date. You pick out your favorite dress, do your makeup, your heart full of hope. You think about a fresh start, meeting someone new, maybe finding love. But for Sade Robinson, that first date turned out to be the doorway straight to hell. A 19-year-old young woman, barely beginning to enjoy her youth, had her life stolen by someone she trusted. And he didn't just kill her, he did something 100 times more monstrous. He dismembered her body into pieces and scattered them around the city, as if her existence meant absolutely nothing. This wasn't just a murder, it was a devastating shock to her family and to the entire Milwaukee community. A chilling wake-up call to anyone who thinks that dating online is safe, or that a kind smile on a dating app is harmless. This story will make you wonder, could someone you've met online also be hiding a terrifying secret like Maxwell Anderson? How many other victims out there never made it back home? Stay with me until the end of this video because every detail of this case will leave you breathless. Sade Robinson was born in 2004 and was studying criminal justice at Milwaukee Area Technical College, dreaming one day of becoming a police officer to protect vulnerable people. Outside of school, she worked part-time at Pizza Shuttle to help pay for tuition and support her family. Everyone who knew her described her as warm, cheerful, and responsible. She had never missed a work shift or disappeared without telling someone. But everything changed on April 1st, 2024, when Sade decided to meet Maxwell Anderson, a 33-year-old man she had connected with online. They had been talking for a while, and Anderson seemed mature, polite, and gave her no reason to feel suspicious. Sade believed this might be a chance for a genuine relationship, so she agreed to the first date. That night, she put on her favorite dress, texted a friend to let them know where she was going, and left the house with a hopeful smile. But after walking out that door, she would never come back. The next day, she didn't show up for work. Her friends and coworkers immediately noticed something was wrong because Sade was never late, never a no-show. Her family tried to call her, but got no answer. It was completely out of character for someone as responsible as Sade to vanish like that. Her family quickly reported her missing on April 2. Just hours after the missing person report was filed, Milwaukee police received a horrifying tip from a citizen walking in Warnemont Park in Kudai. A severed human leg was floating in the cold water. Investigators rushed to the scene, collected DNA samples, and within a few hours, the results confirmed everyone's worst fear. It was Sade Robinson's leg. It was a nightmare come true. A 19-year-old woman who dreamed of protecting others had her life stolen in the most brutal way. In the following days, search teams continued to comb through Warnemont Park and the Lake Michigan shoreline, gradually finding more body parts belonging to Sade. Her torso, arms, pieces of bone, strands of hair, all scattered as if to erase her identity. Milwaukee was stunned. News outlets ran the story constantly. Social media was flooded with posts about Sade, showing her smiling in her Pizza Shuttle uniform, a young woman full of hope whose life ended in a way no one could comprehend. People came to lay flowers, candles, and pink teddy bears, her favorite color, around the park, praying that her soul could find peace. Meanwhile, police moved quickly to identify a suspect. Sade's phone had last pinged near Maxwell Anderson's neighborhood. At the same time, traffic cameras captured images of Sade's 2020 Honda Civic heading in that direction on the night she vanished. Then on April 3rd, investigators found another chilling clue. Sade's Honda Civic had been completely burned out in a vacant lot near 30th and Lisbon. The car was nothing but a charred metal shell, but bloodstains remained on the driver's seat, later confirmed by DNA testing to belong to Sade Robinson. The killer had tried to cover his tracks by torching the car, but couldn't fully erase the evidence. With all these pieces adding up, detectives quickly applied for an emergency warrant to search Anderson's home on April 4th. From the outside, the house looked normal, but inside the basement, they found signs of a horrific crime scene. Investigators discovered bloodstains on walls and surfaces, along with personal items belonging to Sade. Police were convinced this was where her life had ended before her body was dismembered and dumped across the city. Anderson was arrested that same day. He refused to answer most police questions and only spoke through his attorney. Milwaukee was left in shock and rage. No one could believe that a perfectly ordinary date could turn into such a monstrous tragedy. Friends, coworkers, and community members were devastated. They began placing bouquets, candles, and stuffed animals at the park, the first place where Sade's remains had been found, to honor her memory. Women's organizations, student groups, and local activists called for better safety awareness when dating online, warning everyone that no matter how polite or well-dressed someone may seem, they may still hide a monstrous side. Prosecutors soon finalized the charges, officially charging Maxwell Anderson with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, hiding a corpse, and arson. A horrific case with enough nightmares to haunt anyone who heard it. After Maxwell Anderson was arrested, Milwaukee was still in shock. A 19-year-old woman with dreams of serving her community had become the victim of a murder so brutal that her remains had to be collected piece by piece. As news spread, people from across the city came to Warnemont Park, where Sade's first body part was found, bringing flowers, candles, and pink teddy bears to honor her and express their outrage toward the killer. Meanwhile, investigators worked to build a rock-solid case. On April 12, 2024, the Milwaukee County District Attorney formally charged Maxwell Anderson with 4 crimes: first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, hiding a corpse, and arson. Witnesses were called, including Sade's friends and coworkers, who all described her as extremely responsible and not someone who would disappear without telling anyone. She had no enemies and no conflicts with anyone. All evidence pointed to Anderson, the last person to see her alive, with her DNA found in his basement and in her burned-out car. Local news outlets covered the story every day, calling it one of the most shocking crimes Milwaukee had seen in years, both for its violence and its utter disregard for human dignity. Authorities confirmed that Sade was killed and dismembered, her remains scattered in different locations around Lake Michigan, while her car was burned almost beyond recognition. According to prosecutors, Anderson had carefully planned the entire crime, first earning Sade's trust through weeks of online chatting, then luring her to his home, killing her, cutting up her body, scattering the remains to delay discovery, and torching her car to eliminate evidence. But digital data from Sade's phone, traffic cameras, and the blood traces left in the Civic all unraveled his plans within days. Many people could not understand how a seemingly ordinary man with no prior violent record could commit such a savage crime. But the way Anderson tried to destroy evidence showed he was calculating and cold-blooded, not acting out of momentary rage. During the months he was in custody awaiting trial, Anderson remained silent and refused to admit guilt, only communicating through his lawyer. This made the public even angrier because they hoped he would explain why he'd targeted and killed such an innocent young woman. Sade's mother, devastated, told local reporters through tears that her daughter had always dreamed of protecting others, yet she couldn't protect herself from the worst kind of evil. Photos of Sade, smiling brightly in her pizza shuttle uniform, spread across social media and broke countless hearts. In the days after Anderson's arrest, community members gathered for vigils, lighting candles and reading prayers to remember Sade and to warn other women about sharing their location and telling friends when going on dates. Many people believed that the fact Sade had texted her friend about meeting Anderson helped police track down the suspect much faster. By June 2025, the long-awaited trial finally began. Public interest was overwhelming, with people lining up outside the courthouse from dawn just to get a seat. Everyone wanted to see justice done. The jury was made up of 9 women and 3 men, carefully selected because of the graphic nature of the case. Prosecutors presented a powerful narrative. Anderson had lured Sade to his home, murdered her, cut up her body, and burned her car in a desperate attempt to hide what he'd done. Physical evidence, her DNA in the basement, blood in the car, the phone's location data, the traffic camera images, all fit together perfectly, leaving no doubt who was responsible. The trial was tense and painful. Sade's family had to listen to every horrific detail of how their daughter was killed, how her remains were found, piece by piece. Many people in the courtroom wept openly when the prosecutor showed photos of the crime scene, including the recovery of Sade's body parts. Anderson showed no visible emotion throughout the proceedings. His attorney argued that he had mental health struggles and could not fully control his actions, but could not offer any concrete evidence to back up that defense. Meanwhile, outside the courthouse, the public continued to mourn. Posters with Sade's photo appeared on fences, lamp posts, and sidewalks. People wrote messages of hope and frustration, asking how someone so cruel could move freely through their community without being noticed. It was a question that haunted Milwaukee for months. How many other seemingly kind, polite people may secretly be hunting victims online? As the final week of the trial approached, everyone waited anxiously for a verdict, hoping it would bring at least a sliver of peace to Sade's family. The trial for Maxwell Anderson entered its final week in early June 2025, with the entire city watching closely. The evidence was overwhelming. Sade Robinson's DNA found in Anderson's basement, blood confirmed in her burned-out Honda Civic, her phone last pinged near Anderson's home, and traffic cameras showing her car heading there on the night she disappeared. All of these pieces fit together into a horrifying but clear timeline of what had happened. Prosecutors argued that Anderson had carefully planned everything, gaining Sade's trust online, inviting her to his house, killing her, dismembering her body, scattering the remains around Warnemont Park and Lake Michigan, then burning her car to try to cover his tracks. They described these acts as cold, calculated, and showing a complete lack of empathy. Outside the courthouse, hundreds of community members continued to gather every day, holding vigils and praying for Sade's family. Warnemont Park had essentially turned into a memorial, reminding everyone of the dreams of a young woman who only wanted to help protect others, but ended up dying in a way no one could have imagined. On June 6, 2025, after barely an hour of deliberation, the jury returned its verdict. Maxwell Anderson was guilty of first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, hiding a corpse, and arson. Under Wisconsin law, he faced mandatory life in prison with no chance of parole. A final sentencing hearing was scheduled for August 2025, but there was no doubt he would spend the rest of his life behind bars. When the verdict was read, Anderson showed little reaction, his blank stare chilling to witness. Meanwhile, Sade's mother broke down in tears, telling reporters that while justice had been served, no punishment could ever truly heal what had been taken from them. Her words moved many in the courtroom to tears because they understood how deeply a dream had been crushed. Shortly afterward, Sade's family announced they would create a scholarship fund in her name to encourage young women to study criminal justice, hoping others might continue the dream Sade never got to fulfill. They also began fundraising for a memorial at Warnemont Park, where her remains were first found, so that no one would ever forget her story. In the weeks that followed, Milwaukee continued to process the horror of what had happened. Neighbors around Anderson's former home described feeling disturbed, realizing the seemingly normal man who had lived among them was capable of such cruelty. Advocacy groups, especially those working to end gender-based violence, launched new campaigns to educate the public on safer online dating practices. They reminded women to always share their location and plans with trusted friends or family members, pointing out that if Sade hadn't told someone where she was going, police might have needed much more time to track down her killer. News outlets carried these warnings, urging teens and young adults to think twice before trusting a stranger met online. A harmless date through an app could, in the worst cases, become the beginning of a nightmare. Sade Robinson was now a tragic symbol of that truth. Her family still struggled to move forward, but they wanted her death to spark change and protect other young women. They told the media that Sade would have wanted her story to save lives, even if she couldn't be there to protect people herself. As the final sentencing date approached, the Milwaukee community continued to honor Sade's memory through candlelight vigils, social media posts, and prayers. Even though the killer had been caught, the pain of what happened would take a long time to heal. This was more than just a murder case. It was a wake-up call. It reminded everyone that a predator can hide behind a charming smile, a tidy appearance, and carefully chosen words, only to reveal a monster inside. If you think this could never happen to you, remember Sade Robinson, a strong, responsible, hopeful young woman who became a victim simply for trusting the wrong person. Please share her story so that others might stay alert and so that justice is never forgotten.